Blah, y'all already know what it is. Your boy Yaakov, what it do? The outlet to reality, the holdest podcast in Vegas and Chicago. This is the place where you want to hide from your drama, or maybe hide from your baby mama. Just kidding. But anyways, fans, thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Cha-ching! And today we have a very special guest who I consider my mentor, a friend, who is one of the head of the Chicago Tour Network, Rebbetzin Deutsch.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an
It's really
honor.
fun to be here.
I'm so happy. You don't understand. This has been my biggest dream. I've been telling Malka, I've been texting her, and I told her this would be my big accomplishment if I can have your mom or
Oh,
your dad, because they are my true one of my closest like family. And she's like, "Don't worry, I'll talk to my mom right now. Give me a second."
we
So it was
got
so
you. We got it.
right.
I'm glad we made it. I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. So I do want to share a little bit on how we met. So I've known your family for a long time, almost about 7 years. And when you invited Rabbi Zeller for Pesach, Rabbi Zeller called me and he said, David, you think you can pick me up and take me there? I said, yeah, of course. So I took him there. I got him dressed up, and I put him in the wheelchair, and I took him to your house. And you opened the door, and the first thing you said was, "Come in, David. Feel free if you want to join us. If you don't have a place for Seder, just come in." And I said, "Oh, I would love to, but I have plans." And okay, we'll figure out something maybe for Shabbat. And from that moment on, Rabbi Zeller and I have been like regulars coming to your house for Shabbat. You've even invited my mom over for Shabbat. And I got to say, if it wasn't for you both, you and your husband, I wouldn't know the Jewish community that I am connected today in Vegas.
Wow, that's so special. So I do remember. I do remember the first time we met, and then all the other times. And we were very touched by just who you were, and we continue to feel that it's a merit, that we as chus, that we know you and just what you did for him. I can just give you my perspective. So we met Rabbi Zeller probably about close to 35 years ago. And when we first moved to Chicago, we just loved hosting people, and he showed up. We had a lot of singles over, and we had a lot in common because he was in computers and so was I. And he was also a rabbi, and so was my husband. So there was lots to talk about. And he came often, and then he had a stroke. And things got really, really tough for him. Unfortunately, his right side was affected, his dominant side, and things kind of deteriorated. He lost his job, and he couldn't really take good care of himself, and he had to be in a nursing home. And he was with people who were like twice his age, and it was pretty depressing. But he never gave up. He always felt like, I gotta push through and use my skills, use my talents, and not get down. And he'd have his up days and his down days, but um, we thought about, maybe Shabbat is a great time that we could continue to be close with him. And so we would arrange for him to come over. And he was in a nursing home that was about 10 minutes away, but it took him about an hour and a half to get to us because of his difficulty walking. And then a miracle happened, and God sent a messenger in the form of David or Yaakov, who just like showed up one day. We couldn't believe it. We didn't even know where he came from. But it seemed like you really got him. Like you really saw his goodness and his greatness, and you just wanted to jump in there and be a caretaker for him. And we're thinking like, you can't even pay for this. You can't even, there's not no amount of money to find somebody who was so loving and so devoted And, you know, you would have fun with him, you would joke with him, you would learn from him, you would get him dressed, and, you know, and this went on for years. You would bring him to different families for Shabbat, dress him, you know, in the cold winter days. I mean, what I'm envisioning is like some of those Chicago freezing icy days, and you made sure that, you know, Rabbi Zeller had a scarf and gloves and hat and, you know, coat, and you would be wearing this flimsy thing. You would show up frozen at our door to pushing him in the wheelchair. And we were like, who is this guy? You know, so selfless and so caring. And you really, I feel like you were the bright star in a very dark night. And you really made all the difference for him till the end of his life. So pretty
Oh,
mind blowing.
oh, thank you, thank you. I gotta say, he definitely taught me a lot of things, you know, and I gotta say, one thing I love, you know, my memories I have is, you know, when we had a long day together. You know, I actually moved from my old apartment to be a block away from his house to the nursing home, just so I can be there if there was emergency. I was reliable. I could be there. I remember one time the nurses called me 2 in the morning. They said, Rabbi Zeller escaped the nursing home. We can't find him. And I said, I already know his secret spot. In my head, I'm gonna go pick him up. You see, know where I go get him. So I get Rabbi Zeller. He's just chilling by Tel Aviv Pizza, and you know, and I picked him up. He's closed already, but I picked him up, and I said, Rabbi, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I just had to leave. I said, brother, you know, let's just you know, let's, if you need to be away for a little bit, it's okay. So we drove around. I let the nurses know that, you know, he's with me, he's okay. He just needed a little space, and he, you know, he left, but he'll be right back. And so we had a little moment, and I gotta say, I really believe that in the other lifetime, I do think that he was my son, because there was so much things that did that I feel like I was always there for him when he was going through something. He'll be like, David, can I talk to you? I said, yeah, of course. And we'll pull me aside, and you know, we're in his room, and he'll just vent to me, share everything that's going on. And I just listen, right? And I'm only listening because sometimes um I'm not there to fix things, right? He's not asking me, can you solve it? I just need you to hear me out. So I listen, and I made him laugh, and he felt better. It like changed his day. And he would call me every day. I made time for him, and even doctor's appointments. And the thing that I saw amazing is that for him to, and I mentioned this when you told me about what's it called, when the funeral happened. I made a little letter. Rabbi Letterman, he basically
Letterer.
letter. Thank you, thank you. He told me to write an article for the whole community about him, and I wrote a nice 3 paragraphs. And one of the lines says that he able to use 3 of his fingers, the arm that was working, and he typed 400 pages of his own commentaries of Bereshit.
Amazing.
And that's
So he
big.
was still writing Torah thoughts and insights, even though he was so handicapped.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So
Yeah, he was a fighter.
right. You remember when you called me, we were in Vegas. I was in Vegas at the time. And you know, I know Rabbi Zeller missed me because you know I wasn't there, but he was so call me. And um I get a phone call Monday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I forgot when. And you send me a text. You're like, I have to tell you. Call me when you get a chance. I had a feeling it wasn't good. Called you. You told me that he passed away. I got so sad. And you know what's crazy? I 3 in the morning before you called me, I woke up out of nowhere, and I don't know why I start crying. I woke up. It's first time
Huh.
ever. and I think
Wow.
he came by to say bye. Like he wanted to let me know that, just so quick because I'm not gonna lie, after that week was so depressed. I've never cried so much in the shower. I even called Letter and Rabbi Letter, and he was trying to hear me out, and I said, I'm so sad, Rabbi. He goes, why are you sad? I said, because I lost a good friend, and I don't know how myself happy and positive. And so Rabbi Letter says something so powerful. He said, while Rabbi Zeller is in Olam Haba, the world to come, he is in a way your lawyer. He's telling Hashem that this man took care of me, you know, at the end of my life, and he's a good man. And when he said that, that made my day. That's something I needed, and something Rabbi Zeller always said, his catchphrase. He always said, I'm Bernie, I can't get the word. I'll come back, but something I can't remember because then I'm gonna get sad, but I can't
Okay.
remember. Oh man. But
Yeah.
but what else? And Essie, I want to ask you. So, Rebbetzin, I want to ask you. So, for Shabbat, right? Shabbat is so special, and what is it that us as people that are growing nah with Torah? What can we take out of Shabbat? Why should we look forward to it?
That's a great question. I as a kid, Shabbat was always something that was precious to me. I grew up in a Torah observant home, and it was a day that we had special foods and got dressed up and had fun and hung out with friends. So that was always special. But as I got older, I got to appreciate more and more the brilliance of it, and the amazing gift that it really is, because that's what it says in the Talmud, that God says to Moses, I have a special gift in my treasure house, and go and tell the Jewish people. I want to give it to them. And it's something, now when I light my candles, and especially we live in a time that's so rush and busy, and this is a time where I can just stop everything. It's a gift of an oasis in time, where I light my candles and I can sit down on the couch. I never do that during the week ever, and just appreciate um, what life is all about, and the gift of life and the gift of what we have, and be thankful. And it's something that doesn't happen unless it's really part of the mandate. This is what God is telling us, and he doesn't need us to do this. God is God, right? But he's doing it because he wants us to be able to have that pause and have those moments where we can just be, and not be thinking of what we have to do and get done and what we didn't do yet, and be more proactive, and just appreciate that we're alive, and the people in our lives and the gifts in our lives. So I just feel like God really knew what he was doing when he gave us this special gift. And it's a time to reconnect, recharge. We just actually my husband and I have an outreach organization, like you said, called Chicago Tour Network. And this past Shabbat, we had a retreat for women. So we had like about 70 women in a hotel at the Hilton in Northbrook, Chicago, Northwick, Illinois. And it was just an amazing time for people who are not necessarily Torah observant. They're just people who would like to connect with their own Judaism in a deeper way. And we brought in a keynote speaker from Cleveland, Ruchi Koval, who's amazing. And we had other workshops and great food and great discussions. And it was just a time for people to, explore and deepen their own relationship with God. And it was very powerful. So So that's Shabbat for me.
I love it. I love it. That's just so beautiful how you did this big retreat to get so many people connected and not to be afraid to, to um be with other, Jewish people. I think that's great. I think it's nice to see that unison. And I gotta see when did your husband start the Chicago Torah Network?
Good question. Yeah. Well, I would say it was always in the making for me, actually, because I grew up in Borough Park, Brooklyn, New York. My father was a rabbi, but he was also a math professor, and he came in contact with lots of unaffiliated Jews, people who didn't necessarily know too much about their own Judaism, and he would bring them home for Shabbat. And it was a win-win situation because they were so interesting and inspiring, and we were sharing with them the joy of Shabbat. And I always envisioned that one day when I build my own family, I also want to have an open home where all types of Jews can come. And thank God, we got married. My husband and I got married. I was 21, he was 23. And he also appreciated that opportunity. And we heard about this new venture happening. A group of Torah scholars, Talmudic scholars, were starting a kollel in Chicago. I had heard vaguely about something called Chicago, so I was like, hey, that sounds interesting. And it was a 3-year commitment. And we were the last couple chosen. And 40 years later, we're still here. So my husband started learning in this kollel with his learning partner, Rabbi Katz. And they started in the evenings, they would give classes in the community, and particularly in the city, downtown Chicago, meeting with young professionals, and they became very beloved and very popular, and people just kept wanting more and more classes. So I would say about 10 years later, Rabbi Katz and my husband decided to start their own outreach organization called Chicago Torah Network. And they called it a home for the wandering Jew. And it's just a place where people can come to explore their roots and to learn about whatever piqued their interest. So we started doing classes and Shabbatons and holiday events and trips to Israel. And that grew from the young professionals. And now these young professionals is very, very emotional for us because they're grown up, they build their own families, and they have very proud Jewish children who are connected, and we go to their weddings, and it's like it's a nachas, it's a very deeply touching for us. So we just saw that there was a need, that there were people out there who just didn't have access to learn in a way that spoke to them about who they are as Jews and what that means, and to answer questions. So that's how it started about 35 years ago, and we're still doing our thing.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Right now, you hear a lot of scary things right now. I think we hear the rise of anti-Semitism, and I feel like a lot of us are scared, right? And I think that what you're doing, uplifting many neshamas, many souls that are trying to reconnect, right, to Torah or Judaism, whatever it may be. I think that's just uplifting, it's inspiring. And I'm very grateful. I'm almost losing my voice. I'm very grateful for you to come and to share this, Rebbetzin. I think this is great. And I do gotta say, you and your husband are so popular. Like when I came to Vegas, right? And I met Rabbi Fromowitz, he knew you like so much. He's like, this, you know the Deutsches? I said, yeah. I said, I'm actually staying with Malcolm for Shabbat, and he goes, wow, that's amazing. Here, come sit with me. And it was so comforting, just him, even Rabbi Cutler, how they all know you. It just, coming from a different state, it's just amazing how your legacy people already
Oh,
know.
we're very fortunate to come in, in contact with all these amazing people and, share the passion that we have and the love, because it's just such a pity when people don't connect with their Judaism, because it's belongs to each of us, and we just want people to see that and to feel that and to feel the connection that we have as a community, and as a people. And we're very powerful when we're in unity, like you said, like and can work together and share each other's lives.
Right. And I gotta ask you one last question, Rebbetzin. It's a little tough one, but I have to share it. So any advice you can give to someone who is Jewish that wants to be more religious? What would be your advice?
Good question, huh? I think that nowadays there's really a lot available. There are these podcasts like you're doing yourself, right? Where podcasts or websites and books and that are written that really take people from 0 to 180, but in a very step by step process. So, I think, going to websites like aish.com or chabad.org, it has so much wisdom about our own Judaism that's like so easy to access. But of course, I think nothing compares to that personal touch, as you know, that one-on-one, getting to know who's in the community. Is there a rabbi here who has any organization? Is there a Chabad? Is there a birthright trip that I can go on to Israel? Because that very often sparks the connection, because Israel is our home. And once we feel that connection to our home and our people, it just helps us feel part of things. So I always think like a trip, like a birthright trip to Israel or some other, Hillel trip. We live in a world that's very advanced technologically. Everything's at our fingertips, but we don't really. Sometimes it's very elusive, the fulfillment and finding the happiness. And when you can sit down with those bigger questions with somebody personally, questions like, why am I here? You know, questions like, do we believe in the afterlife? Who Give me some proof that God actually wrote the Torah. Why are you following a Torah? What is that book? And asking people who can help with those answers can really bring young people to a place of like, there's more to this. There's something in here for me personally, and I want to just jump in and see how I can get more connected, and so there it becomes more of a connection on a personal level. And I think that's what does the trick. That's what brings people um, into a place of I want to really know more about this, and it's not as scary as it seems. People are pretty normal after all, and they're warm and they're welcoming and they're loving and they want to share, and we're all sisters and brothers. So you know the more people put themselves out, which is a little bit of a stretch sometimes, the more they'll get from it and see that there is a lot for them, and it will enrich their lives. So hope that
Wow.
answers your question.
Yeah, that was a great answer. I love it. I love it. One quote that I gotta say that you always share with me when things don't go your way, and they say it wasn't a job that you wanted and you didn't get it, or the day didn't work out, you always said this: rejection is God's protection. That was something you always said to me, and I never forgot it.
It's true. It's true because, the more we study, God's ways, more we see that and know deeply that He's rooting for us. He wants our best even more than we want it. And sometimes it doesn't look that way, but in the end, we ultimately will see that. And, hopefully you see that in your life, things that, you thought would be great, but it didn't work out and something better came your way. And we see that God's watching out for us. He has our back.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, look, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. This is the outlet to reality. The oldest podcast in Vegas and Chicago. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Ching ching. You know where to find me. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, the outlet to reality. My TikTok is at Yaakov28, and my Snapchat is Take One Pass It. And Rebbetzin, where can my fans or anyone that wants to get connected?
Yeah, so we're at www.tornetwork.org. And you can look us up on Facebook, Donnie and SD Deutsch, and message us, and we're happy to get back to anybody to help you wherever your heart wants to go.